Hey, so, before the video starts, if you're wondering why there wasn't a video last Friday, here's why. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Art to Heart. Today we're talking about art, emotions, and art block. A topic I decided upon because, oh boy, did I deal with both art block and a lot of emotions last week. So let's get into this topic. Art block is when you have a desire to create, but you just can't. It's not very unlike executive dysfunction in that way, if there's anyone familiar with that term. You want to make something, but somehow there's something that's holding you back. And this doesn't always have to be emotional, by the way. This has also happened to me when I've just been creating, and I've been on such a good roll, and then suddenly you're out of ideas, and you just kind of don't know what to do anymore. My main advice for that specific scenario, so the one that's less emotional and more about you just finishing so many ideas and now you've kind of run out, is relax. Genuinely. Relax, go do something else other than art. Go for a walk. Go play some video games. Go read a book. Go read an art book if you want. But you can also do something that's completely non-creative. Do some mundane stuff. Some boring stuff. Maybe even. Because I feel whenever we get in that sort of art block, that is usually due to being so focused on creating that you don't really leave much room in your brain for anything else. And I feel the best ideas always come to us when we let our minds wander a little bit. This is not always the case, but I feel like it helps with art block. You can also start doodling and stuff, but I usually find it counterintuitive to force yourself to be doodling whenever you're art blocked, but for some people it does work. For me personally, it just makes it worse. With that being said, let's dive into a slightly more complex version of art block, the one that is directly caused by emotional state. As many, if not all, creatives will tell you, emotions and creativity are almost intrinsically linked. When we are in a state of emotional turmoil, whether that be sadness, anger, frustration, stress, it can be incredibly hard to be creative, to access your creativity. Now, I don't mean to say that there has never been any good artwork created from a place of pain. There are quite a lot of beautiful and touching artworks that have definitely come from a place of sadness or a place of hurt or a place of anger. But I feel most of those pieces are from emotional inspiration rather than trying to push through it. What I mean by that is that if you have created something that you are proud of during a point where you were in emotional turmoil, you probably did that because you felt motivated and you felt that drive. That is separate from art block. You cannot work through art block when you are in a mental health crisis. Yes, I am using that word and I know that's quite severe, but I do mean it. When you are incredibly upset, incredibly stressed, incredibly tired, worn out, burned out, etc., you can push your buttons as much as you'd like, but you're not going to generate something if you aren't directly inspired by it. That's not to say that you should feel inspired by these emotions. That's kind of the opposite of what I'm trying to get at here. What I mean to say is if you're experiencing these negative emotions and they're directly blocking your creativity, do not try to force yourself to work in this state. It will only have adverse effects. If you get frustrated because the piece isn't turning out the way that you want it to, it can only be more detrimental to your mental health. Please put your mental health first. It is so important, not only just for your personal well-being, which is the highest priority, mind you, but you will be able to create more better quality work when you are in a calm and content mental space. I know this is not something that's directly attainable for everyone. If you gotta talk to someone, do it. If you need to seek out a therapist, do it. And to whoever needs to hear it, not being productive is okay. In fact, sometimes it's absolutely necessary to take a step back, to focus on other things, to focus on ourselves, and then come back to our creative practices when we are in a better place mentally. This also kind of directly ties into the tortured artist trope, which is a trope that I kind of resent, even though it is something that is quite prevalent. There are quite a few very well-known artists who have been known to struggle with both physical and emotional pain and or mental illness. But the thing is, it is not a requirement for you to be a good artist. If you want to hear a little bit of a more in-depth discussion about this very specific topic, I do recommend The Truth of the Tortured Artist by The Art Assignment. I will actually link that video down below because I feel it does a very good job of explaining what the trope entails, the kinds of artists that basically use their pain as a motivation, but also that it is not necessary for you to be in pain to be a good artist. So I do highly recommend that video because it basically goes over all the points that I want to make. So now I kind of want to tap into my own experience with Artblock, specifically the type I encountered last week, because it was an accumulation of both kinds of Artblock. Initially, I sat down wanting to make a video, not having any art filmed for it yet, and trying to come up with concepts and ideas, just ideas for the video in general. I couldn't come up with anything, which is ironically when I thought of, doing a video about Artblock. But the artwork wouldn't come, and I got incredibly frustrated. Basically, I kept bashing my head against the wall that wouldn't budge because I wouldn't walk away from it. So after a certain point in time, I was just like, screw it, I'm going to go for a walk. It had snowed, which is not usual in my country, so it was very nice to go outside for a walk. I actually filmed a bunch because that was my original plan. It's like, well, if I'm gonna do a video about Artblock and I don't have any art to show for it, I might as well just go on a nature walk and take some footage there. And I did get some footage, but honestly, it wasn't very interesting. I mean, it was snow, I was walking outside, and I was gonna voice over it talking about Artblock, but when I got back home, I started having the computer issues, and it was not fixable, and I actually had a meltdown, because I do have ADHD, I've talked about it before, but that does mean that sometimes I experience emotions a lot more intensely than other people do, which meant that, I went from, instead of going from like a 2 to a 6 on the scale of sad and frustrated, I went to a 10 immediately. So I had a meltdown and I felt really awful, and I was still incredibly sad that I wasn't able to create. But I got these like plastic gems in, and I was like, I want to do something with these gems because they're really pretty. And I was like, well, what if I try to combine them with like a little painting and I make them like little teardrops and I make it super pretty? And that was genuinely just the idea, and I just decided to go with it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I do want to give the disclaimer that I only started this artwork when I was already at a slightly more calmer state of mind. I felt inspired by the gems. I wasn't inspired by my negative emotions. I was driven by the fact that I was like, ooh, shiny, I like this, I want to make something with it. And sometimes that's okay. Like, not everything has to be directly emotionally involved. But I've also just been super on this like funky eye mood sort of thing. I've been drawing a lot of weird eyes. I don't know why, I'm just super into that at the moment. And I was happy to add this version to my collection as well. What I will very quickly say is that I really need to invest in like a wax gem picker or something, because I use tweezers and that doesn't work, and then I use my fingers while I was working with industrial glue, and don't do what I do. That's a bad idea. I feel like I need to add this as a short disclaimer, because I think that's kind of important. I also use 2 types of varnish, so the eye is actually shiny while the rest is matte. With that, I hope you enjoyed watching me paint this. I hope you enjoyed this little talk. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, or hit that subscribe button, or leave a comment, or all 3. You the best. Thanks for watching. Bye!